My topic is why uniforms ought to be enforced in public and private schools. Having gone through Catholic schooling my whole life, we were required to wear uniforms. And initially, I didn't like it, but as I got older, I learned to appreciate it, and I will tell you why. During his State of the Union address in 1996, President Clinton said, "If it means teenagers will stop killing each other over designer jeans, then our public schools should be able to require their students to wear uniforms." He made this address at Jackie Robinson Academy in Long Beach, California. And for those of you who don't know, Long Beach is notorious for being not the safest place in Southern California. Snoop Dogg often talks about being from Long Beach, and so does Sublime. And in 1994, 2 years before this address, Jackie Robinson Academy made uniforms mandatory for its 50,000 students. And a year later, school officials found that it decreased school violence by 36%. And this may not seem like a big number, but it is, just because the school was located in Long Beach. And if any of you have seen Freedom Riders, you know that the high school students in the film have been part of gangs since they were very young, so that's why that was good. And President Clinton believes that it forces young students to evaluate who they are rather than what they are wearing. The issue of uniforms has been hotly debated since these two court cases, the first being in April 2006, the San Diego high school student by the name of Tyler Harper was suspended for wearing an anti-gay shirt. And if you can see it, he wore a shirt that said, "Homosexuality is shameful." And two Supreme Court judges, Judge Reinhart and Judge Kaczynski, who almost always see eye to eye about cases regarding the First Amendment, disagreed on this one. Judge Reinhart said that students who are subject to these types of attacks, such as students with disabilities, minorities, or gay students, have a right to be free from these types of psychological attacks because the school is supposed to be a safe haven for the students. But Judge Kaczynski thought otherwise. He said that no evidence that gay students were physically harmed, he said that there was no evidence that gay students were physically harmed by these derogatory messages, and the t-shirt did not cause violence, nor did it disrupt school activity. And eventually the Supreme Court sided with Mr. Harper. The second court case took place in June 2007. A Vermont high school student wore a t-shirt depicting President Bush surrounded by drugs, images of drugs and alcohol. And if you can see, there are 3 lines of cocaine in a martini glass referencing President Bush's past alleged drug use. The court had a hard time identifying how they should, or identifying this case, so they finally came to consensus that this case could be identified as, can a school discipline a student for wearing a t-shirt that displays images of drugs and alcohol as part of a political message? The Court of Appeals argued that the t-shirt, in spite of its depiction of drugs and alcohol, was protected by the First Amendment. And the pictures on the t-shirt that the school wanted to obscure actually diluted the student's political message. The student wore this t-shirt on multiple occasions, and he didn't cause any type of classroom disruption, so the school had no grounds to take any actions against the student. Though these messages on these t-shirts are hurtful, they are protected by the student's First Amendment rights. Some benefits of school uniform: it prevents gangs from forming on campus, like I mentioned earlier with the Jackie Robinson Academy case. It encourages discipline. It forces students to abide by school uniforms, and if they don't abide by the school uniforms, they're punished accordingly. I remember when I was in high school, I would get detention for having a skirt that was too short, or I would be on lunch duty for not wearing a shirt under my sweatshirt. So that I didn't like doing lunch duty, so that definitely put me in line. And this is an image of me on the first day of school in junior year. My skirt is at the appropriate length. And my shirt is buttoned up at the appropriate height, and I'm wearing socks and shoes. It also helps students resist peer pressure to buy trendy clothes. Every year, it's expensive for parents to buy their children a new wardrobe, and if they bought, or if the student went to a school where uniforms were enforced, they would have to spend roughly $110 to $140 on uniforms, which lasted the student several years. And it also helps identify intruders in school. This is a lanyard that we had to wear every day. It was part of our school uniform, and if you didn't wear it, you would be punished. And this was a way that the school could identify visitors from the faculty, staff, and students at school. Some more benefits. It diminishes economic and social barriers between students. Wearing uniforms, it gets rid of preconceived notions students have of one another, like based on their economic background. I know that when my dad came over here from the United States, he was 8 years old, and as cliche as it sounds, my grandparents only had $50 in their pocket, and my dad was given a pair of pants and 2 shirts that didn't fit him well, and he had to wear those 3 things to school. And he was often made fun of and ridiculed, not only for his accent, but for the way he was dressed. And so once my grandparents saved enough money for him to go to Mater Dei, where I went to high school, he bought 2 pairs of slacks and 2 shirts from Goodwill. He never fails to remind me about this whenever I complain. And he wore these 4 things throughout his 4 years, and he felt a sense of belonging to the school just because people didn't really know anything about his economic background. They just knew that he was just another student at Mater Dei. And it increases a sense of belonging and school pride. Athletes wear uniforms to promote school spirit, and uniforms do the same. They draw attention to who the student is as opposed to what they're wearing. Oh, and it improves attendance. Like I mentioned, like I mentioned before, my dad, once he went to Mater Dei, he didn't feel the need to stay at home and not skip class because he would be made fun of. There is a difference between school uniforms and dress code. Uniforms, a student must wear particular items of clothing. He or she has limited palette of colors, and uniforms are accompanied by strict dress codes. And dress codes are less restrictive. There are many loopholes, and some dress codes prohibit visible tattoos, baggy or torn clothing, and bare midriffs. And on any given day, at Mater Dei, we were allowed to wear 2 types of sports, pants and shorts. We had 4 different types of skirts we could wear. So we could wear any collared shirt that was red, white, or gray. And we could wear any collared sweatshirt. So typically, I would wear a skirt with a white collared shirt, and either like a school-issue jacket, or such as this one, or a college sweatshirt. This is one I got when I was at Stanford. And on to the next one. In conclusion, we live in a materialistic world where people are judged based on based on their looks, and students come from a wide array of backgrounds, and parents' economic income is the ultimate deciding factor of what students wear to school. And with uniforms, a student's economic background is obscured, and it gets rid of unnecessary stress and turmoil, giving students a sense of belonging. That concludes my presentation.
Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Would they work at the college level, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think they work up to a student. up to high school, senior year. I know that towards the end of senior year, a lot of students began to rebel. They wore jeans instead of skirts or pants or shorts, so it was hard for the school to crack down on those students.
Interesting. When I was in college, we didn't really have a uniform, but you had to wear a jacket and a tie. So I wore the same tie, I think, for 4 years. You know, I just never never undid it. I just hung it on the doorknob and threw it in there. And then, of course, probably the same blazer, you know, did it for all that time. And then as seniors, we had to wear philosophy robes. You wore like a black, almost like a graduation gown, but short one, you know. And you had to wear that if you were going to your philosophy class. It wouldn't let wouldn't let you in, so to speak, if you didn't have to wear that. Yeah, weren't really fond memories, but it just was interesting that, you know, it kind of did take a certain sense of having to do various things, you know, with regard to getting dressed. So I don't know, but you know, I'm surprised that it felt so natural, I guess, after a while, because I certainly wouldn't think I would like that. But that's why I asked about the college level. So.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore, though. Okay, that was a while ago. Thank you.